My name is Carolyn. I'm sitting on the porch steps, the cold night air nipping at my face. Through the window, I can see the chandelier, a gaudy thing that doesn't belong in this house, shining brightly over the party. Laughter and chatter drift out, but it all sounds so foreign to me now. Just a little while ago, I was carrying a tray of silverware, trying to help set the table for my son Ryan's 36th birthday party. His wife, Stella, turned to me with that cold, polished smile and said, "I didn't invite you, Carolyn." The words hit me like a sledgehammer. I thought I'd misheard, but the look in her eyes told me it was real. The tray trembled in my hands, and the caterer froze in mid-step. Ryan just tightened his grip on his wine glass and stared down at the table. I looked at the oak table I'd chosen 28 years ago when Ryan was just a boy, eating cereal from a plastic bowl. Every plate, every napkin on that table had once been arranged by my hands. Stella repeated those words, softer this time, as if I were a child who didn't understand. The room fell silent, and I slowly set the tray down, my heart pounding so hard I was afraid it would burst out of my chest. Of course, I managed to say, "Wouldn't want to ruin the picture." I stepped back and watched as she leaned in to whisper something to Ryan. I didn't ask. I just walked away, past the hall where my husband's photograph hung askew, past the kitchen that now smelled more of Stella's efforts than of the love I'd once poured into it. Outside, the air tasted of rain. I told myself it was just the weather, but deep down, I knew that something had changed in this house, something big. It all started when Ryan and Stella asked if they could stay for a few months. Ryan had lost his job and couldn't afford the rent on his apartment in the city. I remember telling him, "Of course, honey. This is your home, too." At first, it was nice to have life in the house again. The sound of little Jake's feet running around, the cartoons playing in the living room filled the emptiness that had lingered since my husband passed away. But then, Stella started making changes. She asked if she could redecorate the guest room. 2 days later, the old floral curtains were gone, replaced with modern, minimalist ones. She was efficient, I'll give her that. Then she started replacing the furniture. "Too old-fashioned," she'd say. One day, I came home to find my favorite rocking chair, the one my husband had made for me, gone. I found it in the garage, pushed aside next to a pile of boxes. She laughed it off, saying it didn't fit the new look. I didn't argue. I told myself it was just temporary. But those temporary changes kept piling up. She didn't like the butter yellow paint in the kitchen. "It's too bright," she said. "A more neutral color would be better for my Instagram posts." Yes, Stella runs an Instagram account for home design. She once filmed a before and after video of my kitchen, calling it a fixer-upper. My neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, dropped by one day with a pie and a concerned look on her face. "You sure this is still your house, dear?" she asked. I laughed it off, but inside, I was starting to hurt. Ryan always took the middle ground. "She just wants to make the place nicer, Mom," he'd say. But nicer was starting to mean everything was Stella's way. The final straw was when a new chandelier appeared in the living room. Stella was so proud of it. "It's an early gift for Ryan's party," she said. "It makes the room look so much brighter." I asked how much it cost, and she said, "Don't worry, Ryan used his card." That's when I realized it wasn't just my furniture that was disappearing. It was my authority in my own home, being slowly taken away piece by piece. That night, I sat on the back porch, listening to Jake's laughter inside. Mrs. Jenkins called from her yard, "You all right, Carolyn?" I smiled and said, "Just thinking." She told me, "Don't just wait for things to get better. Sometimes, you have to stand up for yourself." Her words hit me hard. I decided that I wouldn't let Stella be right. The next day, I went to see a lawyer, Mr. Thompson. I told him everything, from the temporary stay to the chandelier to the humiliation at the party. He listened carefully and then said, "You have full ownership of the property, correct?" I nodded. Then you decide who stays in this house, he said. That evening, I typed up some rules. 1. Any household changes require my written approval. 2. No parties or gatherings without my presence. 3. This house is not for sale or transfer without my consent. I printed them out, signed my name, and taped them to the refrigerator door. When Stella came home, she saw the rules and laughed. Carolyn, you don't need to be so formal. We're family, she said. I replied, exactly. And family respects each other's space. Ryan came in and looked at the rules. Is this really necessary? He asked. I said, after last night, I think it's long overdue. Stella crossed her arms and said, if this house makes you so unhappy, maybe we can buy it from you. You could use the money for a smaller place. I looked her in the eye and said, this house isn't for sale, not now, not ever. She got angry and said, you're being unreasonable. I said, maybe, but I've earned the right to be. A week later, I was at the community center when I got a call from Mrs. Jenkins. There's a realtor at your house, Carolyn, she said. I rushed home to find a man taking pictures of my porch, with Stella standing beside him, pointing out the features of the house. I asked the realtor what was going on. He said they were taking preliminary photos for a listing. I asked who authorized it, and Stella said, I did. Ryan and I talked about it. This house is too big for you. I pulled out the copy of the deed that Mr. Thompson had given me and said, my name is the only one on the deed. You might want to verify that before you take any more pictures. The realtor was embarrassed and quickly deleted the photos. I turned to Stella and said, you invited a realtor to my home without asking? She said, we're just trying to help you, Carolyn. You'd be more comfortable somewhere smaller. I stepped closer and said, this is a family, or it was supposed to be. She crossed her arms and said, you're standing in the way of our future. Just then, Ryan pulled up in his car. He looked confused and asked what was going on. I told him, your wife invited a realtor to sell my house. Ryan's shoulders slumped. He asked Stella if it was true. She said, she's being unreasonable. This house could sell for $700,000 easily. We could pay off our debts. I turned to Ryan. What debts? I asked. He rubbed his forehead and said, it's just the new furniture and the chandelier. Stella wanted to. I held up my hand and said, stop. You used your card to furnish a house you don't own? He looked so small. I just wanted her to be happy, he said. I felt something break inside me. Then maybe she should find happiness somewhere else, I said. That evening, Mr. Thompson faxed over a 30-day notice to vacate. Ryan accepted it silently, and Stella crumpled it up and stormed off to their room. As the days passed, the house got quieter. Ryan packed up their things in the evenings while Jake colored at the kitchen table. I cooked simple meals for the two of us, and we ate in an uneasy silence. 3 weeks later, the moving truck left. I sat on the porch steps, sipping my coffee, watching the tire tracks fade away. For the first time in a long time, I felt the house breathe. It wasn't anger anymore, just a sense of peace and space. 2 months later, there was a knock on the door. It was Ryan, holding Jake in one arm and a piece of paper in the other. She left, he said quietly. Stella moved back to her mother's. She's filing for separation. I looked at Jake, his little hand clutching a toy. You both okay? I asked. He nodded. I need a little help with Jake while I work, he said. I stepped aside and said, let's set some ground rules. 3 afternoons a week, I'll watch Jake here while you work. You'll pick him up by 7 o'clock, and no sleeping over unless you call first. Understood? He nodded, a mix of relief and shame on his face. Understood. Later, as Jake sat at the table drawing, I wiped the counters, listening to his soft humming. The house no longer felt like a place of conflict. It felt alive again. That evening, as the last light bathed the butter-yellow walls, I placed my husband's photograph back above the fireplace. The old rocking chair creaked beneath me, and I realized that forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about setting rules so that love can thrive without getting hurt. Outside, the trees rustled in the wind, as if they were finally welcoming me back home.